First of all, I want to tell you about a story that happened to me when I was in England. So, as you know, I love reading and I love books. So I went to a Jewish library when I was there in Manchester. And I'm looking for different books. I got a really good book that I always wanted to get, and I'm very happy about it. And as I'm on the way out, the son of the owner of the store happens to be there, and he knew me. I couldn't recognize him, but he knew me in primary school, which is, well, how do you say that here? Elementary school. In elementary school, he was in the same school as me. So he remembered me, and he said, "Oh, so nice to see you. I've not seen you in years. Wow, you don't look that different," and stuff like that. So whatever, we were talking, and he was very excited. He took my number. He wanted to take my number, which is interesting. I said, "Of course." And then I went. And then, all of a sudden, late at night, I get a call from him. And he's calling me, and he's like, "Hey, I have a flight tomorrow back to Israel." That's where he lives now. I'm talking about 30 years ago when we were together in school. So he says to me, "I have a flight back to Israel, but I want to see you. Can I come see you?" And it was late at night, and the kids were still all over the place. And I said, "Is there a possibility you can come tomorrow? It's a little crazy right now." I said, "Can you let me know why you want to meet me so badly?" And he said, obviously I said it in a nice way, but can you tell me what it is that you want to tell me? He's like, "No, because I've not seen him for so many years. No, I need to see you in person. I need to see you in person." Okay. So I told him, let's meet tomorrow. He says, "Well, tomorrow I've got my flight, but I'll come to you." So he came to meet me, and he finds out exactly where I am. He messages me. It was 8:30 in the morning, and he meets me, and he comes. He says, "I need to take you to the side." He pulls me to the side. He says, "Listen, do you remember this?" I said, "No. This is a pen, and it's like an ink pen, ballpoint pen." And he says to me, "Well, this pen was yours, and I was a little kid then, and I liked it, and I stole it from your desk. And I always came back to England every once in a while, because he lives in Israel. He's been living there for many years. And he tells me, I've always said to myself, maybe I'll see Jack Malone, and I'll give him back his pen. And this has been going on for many years, apparently. And finally, he saw me in the store, and he said, I finally met you. And I have the pen still with me. I still didn't forget it. And I am so glad that I'm giving it back to you." And he was nervous. You can hear in his voice that he was nervous to tell me about this. And to me, I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. This is a really amazing, amazing Jew. And I told him at the end, he also gave me money. And I said, no, I don't need it. Thank you very much. Because he said, I may have caused you anguish for all this time that I took your pen. So I said, you can take it, and I don't even want to see what it is. Give it to charity or something. But this is a really religious, good Jew. And to me, he told me there's 3 things that I took as a younger kid, which I probably shouldn't have taken. And this is one of them. I took money from my sister, I took this, and I took something else. I don't remember what he said. And I said, I wish I was as great as you are. And I said, thank you for stealing it, because you taught me a great lesson of caring about other people's belongings. And if he wouldn't have stolen it, would I remember this pen 30 years later? No. But I do remember, I'm glad that he stole it, because he taught me a great lesson. And I said, you know what, the first thing, as soon as we left each other, I said, I'm going to share this as my first story with everyone that comes to our Taco Tuesday. So I did. And it's an amazing thing. Hello. Wow. You missed a great story, but whatever. Next time. You can watch it on YouTube. And by the way, the story has beautiful music from the background, playing. It's fantastic. Cardi B or whatever. Okay, so I want to talk about something very interesting, which is the week that we're in, which is called Tifferet, which is what we went to work on. So we are now between Passover and Shavuot. So between Passover and Shavuot, we work on ourselves every single day. We're meant to grow spiritually in 49 different Kabbalistic ways until the day of getting the Torah. So this week, we're in the week of what we call Tiferet in Kabbalah. There's 7 different main energies that we work on, and each week we work on a different energy, and I want to talk about that energy today. I'm not going to be able to talk for too long, A, because there's ridiculous music playing in the background, and B, because it's late. So I want to tell you like this. In life, people always say you've got to be balanced, right? And it's not always true that you can be perfectly balanced, okay? Let me give you an example. So you see this wall over here, okay? This is a great wall, perfect. If I want to hang a picture right in the middle, how would I make it look right? Where would it be? Would it be right in the middle of this wall? Would it include this? Will it include this whole section? Because if I put it right in the middle of this wall, from far you may be thinking it's not symmetrical. Have you ever had this issue? Where you hang something up and then you look at the door, but the door's in the way. So is it the middle of that wall or is it the middle of the whole thing? In life, the center, the balance of everything isn't always about being perfectly balanced. And that's a very important idea. So let's say, for instance, we have 6 days you work, and on the 7th day, right, we have Shabbat, where we completely disconnect. So it's 1 day of the 7 that we rest. Now, some people tell me, well, I don't want to be an extreme Jew, so keep a whole Shabbat. That's extreme. Actually, that's balance. Now, I'll tell you what wouldn't be balanced if we had, in Judaism, imagine Judaism said 3 days, shalom. Imagine in Judaism we said 3 days Shabbat and 4 days of work. Would that make sense? Well, it would be nice, but it wouldn't be balanced. Balance is exactly what Shabbat is. It's 6 days of work, much more work days, and only 1 day of Shabbat. If it would be 2 days, it wouldn't be balanced. Sometimes being balanced is actually not exactly symmetrical. Does that make sense to you? It's not bang in the middle. It's 1 out of 7. That's balance when it comes to Shabbat. There's certain things in life that being balanced is not exactly boom in the middle. You've got to think and realize exactly where is the center of the whole thing. Does this make sense? Okay, I'm going to try and speak over this beautiful nigun, this beautiful song, and we'll make it work. So in this week, we're meant to be working on something called Tifferet, which means beauty. What is beauty? Oh yeah. Right, what's beauty?
It's in the eye of the beholder.
Right, okay, so beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Well, that means it's about me, not about the person I'm looking at, but whatever. What is real beauty? In Judaism, beauty is balance. Let me tell you, when you have music, that the tones go very, very high and then low, and they go, that's music, right? Music, if it's one tone, do you know what one tone is? Do you know what that sound is? That sound is death. Yeah. When somebody passes away, right, what happens to the machine? Right, it just goes one sound. Do. What's life? Do you know what life is? Ups and downs. If it just has one tone, that wouldn't be life. That's actually death. Life is music. What's music? Ups and downs. Do you guys get it? Now, some music needs to be a little more down because it's more heartfelt music, Like, oh, baby, baby. That kind of stuff. And then there's stuff which is like, it goes to the rhythm, to the beat. So that kind of stuff has to have a lot of highs. You've got the highs and you've got the lows, but it depends what the style of music is. Every song cannot just be do, right? That would be just ridiculous. That's life. Do you guys get it? Life is ups and downs, but the ups and downs need to be perfectly tuned to exactly the feel that you want in that song. It can never be perfect. An up here and a down here. An up here and a down here. An up here and a down. That's also not music. Music is where you feel the vibe and you make it work based on what you're trying to do. That is beauty. Beauty is when you see a bunch of people singing together and it sounds perfect. and one person's a little higher, the other person's a little lower. And then you have a musical instrument in the background, and that's going along tune with everything. When everything's in harmony, and you have all different highs and lows coming together, that is beauty. That's called Tiferet. Tiferet in Kabbalah is the week that we're in, and that's what we're meant to be working on, which is finding perfect balance in the highs and lows of life. Okay? Let me give you another example. So, Tiferet really is a balance between giving and restriction, boundaries. In life, you are always going through a moment of giving or taking. Everyone's giving or taking. You say on Instagram, hey, I just, you find someone that you're interested in. How do you reach out to them? Does anyone know? What do you do? Hey, I don't know. I've not been in the business for a long time. Hey, I see that you may have a similar family tree to me. You're also Sephardic and we're from the same town. Some random stupid question that raises, can we meet and talk about it? And then you go, right? So some people do that in order to reach out to someone. And there's all different ways that you would reach out to someone to try and get them to go out with you, right? So in Judaism, we have what we call chesed, is where you have this energy of giving, trying, pushing, trying to give. And then there's also an energy of gevurah, which is pushing, restraint, discipline. And discipline is good and giving is good. You can't have too much of each other. You can't have too much giving. Let's say a child. If you're giving to your child all the time, what are you going to do to him? Spoil them. Destroy him. Not let him realize boundaries. If a child doesn't have boundaries, sugar, candy, but what's going to happen when he gets older and suddenly he faces the ups and downs and the music of life? He can't face it, right? Then the child can't face it. And then they just hate themselves. They can't bear life. You see, when we are only giving, then we are not educating. Actually, we are hurting our children if we were to only give. Well, the same's in a relationship. If you're only giving in a relationship, what's going to happen to that relationship? Can you imagine a couple that just gives and gives and gives to each other? Sounds good? Does that sound like a good thing? How can that be bad? Does anyone know?
Bank account will get dry.
Huh?
Bank account will get dry.
Well, there you go. Right? It's not exciting. If everyone's giving all the time, then at some point the relationship is, you're too much in my face. Give me space. Space is a boundary. So in life, everyone's got to give, but you've also got to take. You've also got to also restrict. You've got to have boundaries. In a relationship also, if two people are on top of each other, then they don't have space, they can't think, they can't breathe, they can't do their own work, they can't continue in life. Can you imagine a relationship where they're so in love with each other that all they do is love each other? Then when do they have time to live? She can't go to work, he can't go to work. Well, you didn't spend time together. What do you mean we didn't spend time together? We were away from each other for an hour. Right? That's not a relationship. A relationship is where you know to give, but you also know to take a lot of steps back so that the other person can breathe, they can be independent. Okay? So every relationship needs chesed, kindness, but it also needs boundaries. Everyone needs kindness and boundaries. In Judaism, we had Abraham, who was the man of kindness. He was so kind. His house was open in all corners. Why is that a problem? It's beautiful, but why can that be a problem?
Bad guys.
Yeah, bad guys. What else? Yeah, we know about that, right? So sometimes, right? Bad guys. What else can happen if you have your doors open all the time? People take advantage. What about you and your own time with your spouse? No privacy. No independence. You start becoming a public person. So Abraham Avinu had a child, Ishmael, that went a little sour because of this problem. He was too much chesed. Too much chesed causes a problem in your own family. You can't have too much kindness, and we'll talk about how to make boundaries for it. But then there's the other side. Who was the son of Abraham? Who was willing to be slaughtered for God. Do you know what that means? He was too much boundaries. He was very strict. settled, organized. Everything's up to, do you know these people? On time when they wake up. Everything, whoop, I'm late. I don't touch this. I can't have sugar past the time of 5 o'clock in the evening. And there's some people, everything is structured. I can't, we spent an hour together. We already spent an hour together. I got to go. Wait, we have an important meeting. No, you came late. There's one guy that said, I came 5 minutes. I'm always late. This time I came early, 5 minutes late. I come 5 minutes late. You're late. I got to go. Dude, I know I'm 5 minutes late, but of the 35 minutes that we're meant to meet, so you'll have 5 minutes late, 5 minutes less of a meeting. You can still get 30 minutes with me. No, you're late, so I've got to go. What do you mean you got to go? Either way, we were meant to be talking for the next half an hour, so stay. No, there's some people, they are very structured. Do you get what I'm saying? In Hebrew, we call it a tov personality. A tov personality means good. Everything needs to be perfect. But that's also a big problem. So Isaac was the forefather of structure and organized, but that can be a problem. And then you have Jacob. We are the sons of Jacob, B'nai Yisrael. We are the sons of Israel. From him came the 12 sons. They fought at the beginning, but then they all got along at the end. Okay? That's the Jewish people. We are B'nai Yisrael. He was able to bring up a family with the perfect balance of kindness, but also restriction. He told his children off. He rebuked them, but in the right time. He was all about learning Torah. Do you know what Torah means? Torah means, when should I be kind? When should I give? And when should I give restriction? This is a lot of wisdom. And that's the value of Tifferet. Somebody who knows how to, we call it in parenting, pick your battles. Have you heard this before? Have you heard of this saying? Well, pick your battles also with your future spouse. I don't mean a battle, hopefully you're not fighting, but when it comes to a relationship, you've also got to pick the things that you really want the relationship to take seriously. You can't ask from your spouse to do everything you want perfectly. It will never work. You've got to pick your battles, your demands. Pick your demands. We won't call it battles, but pick your demands in the relationship. Make sense? Okay, everyone needs to know the perfect balance. But Jacob was the forefather of the Jewish people because he balanced gevurah, restriction and boundaries, kindness, and what you have in the middle is Tifferet. By the way, kindness is the color of, does anyone know? Blue. What's the 3 foundational colors? Red, yellow, and blue. Blue is actually, it goes in this order. Blue. And on the other side, the other extreme is red. Red is restriction, din, judgment. That's gevurah. Blue is chesed, kindness. You look outside, you see the sun, right? It's not really blue. You know that the sun is yellow. The sky is blue. It's not really blue. It's just the way that light is reflected and how much light can come through and how much is being reflected gives you the color blue. But the color blue in Kabbalah represents kindness. Red represents din, judgment. And what do you have in between? Smiley face. What's a smiley face? Yellow. It's the color of the sun. Yellow represents the harmony of gevurah and chesed. Chesed and gevurah, the harmony of kindness and restriction. Then in between you have what we call Tifferet, and that's this week that we are working on. We're working on what we call the balance between giving and restriction, and that's the person that has Tifferet. I want to tell you a few more things and a few stories, and we'll finish. So, having a perfect balance between giving and restriction, which one do you think you need to have more? Remember what I told you right at the beginning, that when you have a room like this, you don't really want to put the picture right in the middle of this entire, well, this isn't a room, whatever, but right in the middle of this wall, because it might not be symmetrical considering that part and that part also. You have to make sure it's good to the eye from far, right? Having something in the middle doesn't necessarily mean perfectly in the middle. I want to ask you, when it comes to educating your child or when it comes to being in a relationship, what do you have more? More kindness or more boundaries and restriction? More kindness. Generally, it's about more kindness. There are some people that for them, they need more restriction. You have to think about the person you're dealing with. Some people need the boundary. There are some people that, do you know what they do? They have to go through, what's it called? Rehab. They go through rehab. Do you know what rehab does? It gives you boundaries. There's hours, there's times, no drinking, no alcohol's allowed here. You must go out, there's curfew, there's hours when you can come in, when you can come out. Basically, what a rehab is a gevurah, a restriction to the person that had too much kindness to himself. He was too kind to himself. Drinking, eating whatever he wanted. Addiction. Addiction personality is a person that's too kind to himself, actually. Do you realize the irony? He's really being cruel to himself, but it comes from being too kind. I love that food. I want more of it. I would love that sugar. I want so much more of it, because you're being too kind to yourself. You're not being cruel to yourself. The outcome is you're being cruel to yourself. But too much chesed destroys the person. Why? Because when you're too kind to yourself, you really hurt yourself. And that's what a rehab is. So gevurah is restriction, chesed is giving. And what do we want? We want the middle. And that is, for the most part, a little more kindness than restriction. In any relationship that you have, or any relationship with your parents, or with anyone else, you should know, with your future child, Be'ezrat Hashem, please God, or your spouse, or the person you're dating, you should know that it should always involve more giving, more understanding, more trying to listen to them, and once in a while, having boundaries. Should I give you an example of having boundaries in a relationship? We've been dating for 6 months. Being able to be confrontational in a nice way, with love. But being able to be confrontational and say, okay, we've been dating for 6 months. Where is this going? What are your plans? And I've seen many people that don't know how to be confrontational, so they wait, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait. And what happens eventually when you wait too long? Well, they break up. They don't get married. They break up. But do you know how they break up? In a horrible way. Because at some point, the confrontation comes out. It all comes out. And it comes out, and the guy explodes with like all the problems. You're never there. You never spoke to me. We've been waiting. I've been talking, right? Because you kept it in. Kept it in, kept it in, kept it in. And you knew that there's an elephant in the room, and you're not talking about that elephant in the room until you waited until the moment came and it all comes out. That's a problem. So there are some people that have what we call confrontational challenges. They don't know how to have confrontation in a relationship. That's important. That's called gevurah. How do we do that? It needs to be done with compassion and love, but it needs to be done. Does this all make sense? Okay, so you have to have much more chesed, much more kindness in the relationship, but it definitely needs to have elements of boundaries and restriction. Okay, so these are one or two more things I'm going to say, and it's very, very important. Listen carefully, and this is very, very amazing. In Judaism, in Kabbalah, kindness and restriction or discipline are both internal values. That means it comes from within, and it's done mostly for selfish reasons. Why are you kind to someone?
You want something back.
Yeah, you want something back. You're much kinder to the person you hope to marry than you are to the random person in the street, right? The person that you're reaching out to that you really think is very attractive, you're going to be really kind to them. Oh, such a mensch suddenly opens the door, psst, right? You know, you make sure that she has a beautiful seat before you even get in. Wait, yeah, that's only now. Wait, right? So then you're such a mensch, so kind. Then the waiter comes. Hey, where's the food already? It's ridiculous, this restaurant. Suddenly you see the picture. What's happening? You're kind, really, because you care about yourself. Or let's say, let me give you an example where kindness is very selfish. Shall I give you an example where kindness is selfish? When you hear that there's a friend that's sick and you want to go visit him. So you go all the way, you travel to go visit him, and then as you get into the hospital, you sent him a message. He's like, oh, actually, I'm on the way out of the hospital now. I got better. You're like, oh, darn it. I came, I got the flowers, I got everything. Now he's better? Come on, right? This could be, I did all this work. I brought him a cake, I brought him flowers, I brought him all this stuff, and now he got better. Can you not at least stay sick for another day so at least I could show how nice I am? Do you get how kindness could be selfish? Kindness comes from a place, in Judaism, from an internal place. Why are you kind most of the time? Because you want something really, you want to feel good. Sometimes we're kind because I feel down, I feel like I'm not done enough. So I want to go out and do something. And then I go out and do something, and then I take good pictures with it. And then I'm like, wow, that was a good day. I did chesed. Meaning, in Kabbalah, kindness is coming from an internal place. It's your soul screaming, and it makes you do it, but it's really for a selfish reason. Same with discipline. Why do we like discipline? Why does a parent tell his child to be quiet? I'm on the plane, and all 6 of them are complaining. Why am I telling them to be quiet? Do you know why? Because I want quiet. Because the guy behind me is looking at me like, right? And I want quiet for myself. All selfish reasons. We want discipline because we want comfort. We want discipline because we want things to be organized, to go in an easy flow way. So when it's on time, it looks better. It looks better on me. Most of the idea of discipline that we have in us is an internal place. Do you know what Tifferet does? Tifferet, which is what we're talking about, which is the balance, which is beauty. Beauty is where I see the other person. It's not only about me. It's actually where I care about the person in front of me. How much kindness do they really need? Beauty is when I try and do an act of kindness, and then I find out that the person got better. And I say, oh, thank God he got better. So I won't need this cake for now. I'll give it to someone else. Right? When you're able to care about the person that you're dealing with, truly, that's Tifferet. That's real beauty. That's where someone's beautiful. Where it's not only about being kind so that I can fulfill my own internal desires. It's not only discipline so I can fulfill my internal desires. It's so I can really care about the person that's in front of me, the individual that I'm working on. It's true care. That's Jacob's energy. That's Tifferet. Okay? So what's Tifferet? Yeah, Tifferet is many words. It's got many definitions. It's beauty. It's balance. It's caring for the individual in front of you. It's real. It's truth. That's what Tifferet really means. Okay? And that's the week that we're in, that we're working on. I'll tell you 1 or 2 stories, and then we'll finish. Okay? There's a famous story of the Admor of Slonim, who lived in Israel, passed away about 20 years ago. He was called the Nesivas Shalom. He wrote many books, and one of his main books was called Netivat Shalom, the Path of Peace. And it's very well studied in the religious community. His book is very well known. His story, he lost almost everything in his community. Slonim is a place today in Belarus, which was back then Russia, and a lot of his community died. Many people that he knew passed away, and he managed, together with some other people, they managed to escape to Israel. They actually left before the Holocaust, but there were some of his own family members, his uncles and his family members that passed away. And after the Holocaust, his whole mission was helping Jews come to his community, this rabbi, and bringing them in, and especially people from his town. And he hears about different people. Not many years after the Holocaust, he creates this in Israel, somewhere in Jerusalem. He sets up the most beautiful Passover Seder that you could imagine. He used a lot of money that didn't exist in that time to have a beautiful setup. A very expensive table, everything brand new, beautiful cutlery, everything done to the perfection. And he invited every single person he knew that was in Israel, survived the Holocaust and came in. And there was one person who he knew who lost everything. Lost his wife, his kids. And this guy decided after the Holocaust, I am not doing anything Jewish. I'm done. I'm quitting. He was a Hasidic Jew and quit everything, shaved it all off, and said, I'm moving to Israel, but I'm living a non-religious life. And that's what he did. And this rabbi got hold of him and told him, please come for Passover. Please. I want you to join me. I made a beautiful table. And this man comes and he decides to join. And amongst him were many other survivors. And this man who decided to quit Judaism completely comes to the table, and it was the most beautiful night. They had the most amazing Passover Seder. At the end of this night, do you know what happens? This man starts to come more involved in Judaism, and he gets very, very connected again, and moves next to the rabbi and comes very connected. So they asked him, what was it on that night of Passover that spoke to you so much? Why was it that the rabbi managed to convince you? And what was it that made you come back to Judaism? He said, you know what happened? On that night, when they started the meal, the table was beautiful. When they were about to start the meal, the son of the rabbi was playing on the table, and he hit the bottle of wine. And the bottle of wine spilt wine everywhere, all over the table. Beautiful, brand new table set up. And wine everywhere. So the rabbi looks at his son. Everyone's quiet. They're shocked. This is a beautiful setup. And straight away, before we even start, wine all over the place. Everyone's quiet. They're looking at the rabbi, see his reaction. And he looks at his son, and he says to him, in his own words, he says to him, you are so much more important than this entire table. This whole table is nothing compared to you. And this survivor that came saw, he says, that that's the thing that brought me back to Judaism. It reminded me of those good Jews that I grew up with. To be able to see that, and someone who's so compassionate in the most crazy situation, that's what brought me back. Such love, that's what brought me back. So that's called Tiferet. That is beauty. What's beauty? Being able to balance perfectly and know exactly when to share love and where to have boundaries. It's very easy to share love in a moment where you're attracted. But there's times where we share boundaries when we shouldn't be. Like a child spills milk. Oh, why did you do that? Do you not know that? Well, opens the fridge and a whole bunch of eggs fall. It happens to me, that's fine. But when my kid does it, right? So that's called a lack of balance, where I get angry for the wrong reasons. Restriction in the wrong place, that is not good. That's not Tiferet. Tiferet means put the boundaries in the right place. In this moment, when the son dropped the wine, it was a mistake. I make mistakes too. In that moment, you need love. There are moments where a kid makes a mistake, and that's when he needs boundaries. Okay? Like once when I was a kid, I got a pellet gun and started shooting at my neighbor's car. My dad went crazy. Okay? So that was, how did he find that? He found out that I got this pellet gun, and I was shooting, it was a good one. And he went nuts with me. He actually took it to the sink and he said, I don't believe this. Is this real? I said, Dad, don't do that. It's going to shoot back at you. Anyway, it's a funny story. But I got a pellet gun. So in that moment, my dad gave me good beats. He gave me a good restriction. And you know what? Probably, maybe it's sometimes a little bit too much, but I think that was a good thing. That was a good thing. Boundaries are necessary in a place where someone is dangerous or doing something really wrong. You need boundaries. But in a place where wine is spilled on a table, then what matters more, the wine and the table or the child? Or when I'm dating, or when you're really married to someone, what matters more? Okay? The way that I talk to you and the way that we get along, or the few things, I can't believe you said that to me. I can't believe that you didn't answer me on a message. What matters more? Shalom bayit, peace, matters so much more. There are times where we need to really contemplate where we should put our kindness and where we should put our boundaries that we make. And a lot of times we mix them up. Always more love than boundaries, but we have to have boundaries in our life. And that is the lesson of Tiferet. That's the lesson of today. That's this week's energy that we're working on before we get to Shavuot. Anyway, someone's now on the phone call, the music is perfect. Any questions, thoughts, anything you want to share? Yes?
It's a good example of where you need to have balance and patience. You have all these other distractions, but you're still getting your speech.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, you listened. I can't believe it. Not you, everyone. No, not you. Everyone. It's amazing because I was like, as I'm speaking, I'm shocked. I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. I hope they're not listening, but whatever. Good neighbors, good neighbors.
Tell 'em.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening. Hope you guys enjoy it.